Best.Podcast.Ever is brought to you by the Gertzberg Law Firm, a full-service business and litigation firm in Cleveland, Ohio. Practical and results-driven, the award-winning attorneys at Gertzberg Law have both in-house corporate and large firm backgrounds and have built a one-of-a-kind firm that is changing the way clients engage, work with, and pay for their attorneys. Visit GertzbergLaw.com to learn how we're different. Gertzberg Law Firm. We solve problems. Enjoy the show.
Hey folks, stay tuned after the podcast for a 10-minute legal talk with Max Julian about contracts.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to listen to the best podcast ever recorded.
Hi, Molly Gebler.
Hi, Alex Gertzberg.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Fantastic.
Woo! I'm not liking this weather. Hopefully,
You're
by
not?
the time people hear this, it'll be fall. Because this is, if I signed up for this, I'd be living in Florida.
This morning, did you go to Starbucks today?
I don't go to Starbucks ever.
Their AC was blowing out hot air.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a furnace inside.
Oh.
And I said to an unnamed employee whom I do not want to get in trouble, I said, hey, shouldn't they be telling you to go home? It's like 130 degrees in here. And she looked at me like, yeah. And I go, well, why aren't they? And she said, we are on orders. If it were up to everyone in this room, we would be at home right now. But
were there people in the place?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, people still wanted their Starbucks crack, you know. But the point is, I had a mind, Molly. I was of a mind to write to Seattle and say, hey, corporate responsibility, people. How about a little ethics? How about a little taking care of the troopies in the field? You know what I mean?
Yes.
But yeah, so
Are you going to write that?
I don't know, maybe
You should. You speak up for the little people.
I should, right? Yeah, I think I might.
Yeah.
Anywho,
Yes,
what's
sir.
going on here?
Not much.
Whatever. You've got man, you're on cloud nine.
I am.
Yeah, right?
I am. Mhm.
Would you say that your documentary coming out, what would be the verb for your release?
Release.
Dropping. The dropping. Premiere,
Yes.
right? Of your documentary
All those
tomorrow
words.
morning. I'm sorry, tomorrow night at Grove Hill. Is it tomorrow night?
No, it's next week.
Oh, it's next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday.
Oh, man, it's a good thing we're
Next
doing this
Tuesday.
because I got it on my calendar for tomorrow night.
Yeah. Yes, next Tuesday.
Yeah, so by the time folks hear this, unless something catastrophic will have happened, then you will have closed down a public street in the village of Chagrin Falls.
It'll be in Riverside Park. Rock the House is doing all the setup for it, so it'll be top notch.
Okay.
And we're going to start at Grove Hill. We're going to walk orange carpet over to the Riverside Park. And
From
you would have
Grove
gotten an email today to get your reservation in for Grove Hill. That's going to be a chamber event.
Wait, from Grove Hill, the hill, or from
Grove
Grove
Hill,
Hill,
the
the
restaurant?
An orange carpet will go from there.
No, you'll just walk across it at some point. We have a orange carpet instead of a red carpet. We have an orange carpet.
Where will the
pumpkin.
orange carpet be?
Probably in Riverside Park.
Okay.
Because we have like a whole stanchion. We'll be able to stand and get your picture taken.
Okay. So, seating obviously very limited. In the sense that this is such a sought after ticket.
Well, bring
that-
your sled
Yeah.
or your blanket. That's what we're
Right.
saying.
Sled?
To sit in. To sit on.
Your sled?
A sled, yes.
Why
that's
would you bring a
because
sled?
it's the pumpkin roll, and that's what kids slide on.
I got you.
Yep.
So this is going to be the world premiere of Grove Hill, a true documentary film.
So there are 10 world premieres in the Chagrin Documentary Film Festival this year, and I have 2 of them. How cool is that?
That is very cool. That and the Weenus Report.
Yes, yes. So excited.
Oh.
I'm so excited.
I'm incredibly proud of you.
I'm busy. There's lots going on in a good way.
That's awesome.
What about you?
Uh,
Kids are good?
kids are wonderful.
Yeah.
Kids are good. The law firm's being a good corporate citizen, unlike Starbucks this morning.
Right.
We have now officially locked in all 7 schools into this year's essay contest, up from 4 last year.
That is exciting.
It's very exciting. 6,000 students.
That is very
6,000 students. Brecksville Broadview Heights has joined, and Beechwood High School, Orange High School, Newberry, Kenston, Chagrin Falls, and Aurora. And this year, what we're talking about doing is letting the students choose their own problem to solve, right?
In each different school?
Like all students, all 6,000 students get to choose their own.
I'm not quite sure that this has been approved by the
advisory board. So
how would you even begin to judge that?
You would give them points for good selection of a problem to solve, right? So, for example, it would have to be a problem that doesn't apply to just Molly Gebler, for one, right? It would have to be a real...
I have no problems.
Right. Well, there you go. So that wouldn't work. It would have to be like relevant and timely and broader than just a few people, right? So selection of the problem would be...
I don't know. I think they need more conversation.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But that's ramping up, and that's going to be bigger. And I mean, look, it's not...
Is Nellie ready for that?
No. She will be, though. Nellie's in Israel.
I was going to say, we did give her a 3-week...
She better come back
Yeah.
refreshed.
She was in some caves, or she was in somewhere. There was some cool pictures.
Why don't we talk about what you and I talked about with the idea of doing a live stream for the podcast soon, right? You did one. You did the live stream. Well, you're a big fan of the live stream.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Big fan. Yeah. I'm all for that.
I tuned into your live stream while you and Emily were driving to New York.
Yes.
And it was riveting television. My goodness. I just couldn't rip away.
I know.
But yet I did after only 8 seconds.
We tackled some very important things.
Yeah?
Yes.
Like what?
She would give me urban words, and I'd have to guess what they were. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
It was very interesting. It was very funny. You
Does
should
that
head back to that.
Does that record and stay up?
Yeah, you should find that. And then we tackled breakups and that kind of stuff in the celebrity world.
Interesting. We will definitely have that happening here.
Yeah,
right?
that sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
We'd have to discuss the perfect guest. We'd have to have the perfect guest for that.
And it'll have to be better scripted than most of our podcasts, since we can't say, "Hey, Nellie, take that out."
Oh, that is true. Yes, we have to.
Right.
We've been. I've been doing a couple videos for the film festival, just intros and stuff to things, and my little guy that I've partnered with, my little 11-year-old director, has learned a few choice words since doing my videos, and
I'm shaking my head disapprovingly right
now. I
now.
know, just because I would say it, and then I'd be like, whatever the word might be, and he'd be like, Molly, my ears. It is what it is. It is what you get with me. I'm a potty mouth.
Yeah. I wonder if that's our guest right there coming in.
Speaking of our guest.
Yeah, let's talk about her.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our guest.
This is a big guest.
She's a get. She's a catch.
Big deal. Can I tell you one story? Maybe I'll wait until she comes in to talk about my first time I met her, because it's pretty it was years ago.
Are you guys going to get into a fight? Because you guys are rival schools. Is there going to be any kind of like anger and resentment and arm wrestling and stuff?
Her.
She's awesome.
She's awesome.
She is really awesome. I'm a huge fan.
High respect.
And
she has such a presence.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. For those who don't know, Ms. Nancy Santilli is the superintendent of Kenston Schools, which is a giant school, and it's a Blue Ribbon Award-winning school, which makes it one of the best schools on the planet. She's been there for a long time, since 2007, when she was a principal there. And she started out not as a principal, but as an art teacher, interestingly enough. Since then, though, she's been all over the place. So we got to ask her about this this chicken flying contest that she lost to the superintendent of West G last year. We got to ask her about the Marine Corps boot camp that they put her through. We got to ask her about the
Blue Angels VIP flight.
Blue Angels VIP flight. And I'm really just curious more than anything about what it's like to hold a position of that weight and gravity.
Do you
right?
imagine the phone calls?
Dude, I mean, you got to love
helicopter
drama, right?
parents and and I don't know what's the number of students for Kenson. We have to ask her.
I think it's like, isn't it like 1,000? I think it's 1,100 or something like
I
that.
know, we'll have to ask
Kenson
her.
High School. Oh, but that's just the high school.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, it's like probably close to, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000. She'll tell
Yikes.
us. We'll grill her on it.
Yeah.
No, but that's like a, right? You've got so many constituents, right? You got the students, you got their parents, you got PTO, you got donors, you got the state of Ohio, right? I mean, I want to know how that all jives because they're not all going to agree, right? And then you got parents who complain about stuff,
Everything.
right? What else? Should we bring her in?
I think we should bring her in.
All right.
A lady like that shouldn't.
You don't keep her. You don't keep her waiting.
Keep her waiting.
If she walked out right now, she'd be justified.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, let's
She's
go get
waited long enough. Long enough.
All right, Nancy, we're done talking about you behind your back.
Oh, my friend Molly, the most energetic, wonderful person in all of Chagrin.
Energetic's a good word.
Yeah, she is energetic.
She is energetic.
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys are probably tied for most energetic.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I did come bearing gifts.
Oh.
As it turns out, we love gifts.
Yes. Look
You
at
know, since I
that.
didn't take part in beverages.
Oh my
today.
goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no way! This is Sicilian wine you brought here, Nancy Santilli.
Enjoying my little.
What did you get?
None of your
What is that? I want to see. It looks like a Gucci bag.
It's a Louis Vuitton bag, but Gucci.
See,
Okay.
she knew.
Oh, of
She
course
knew.
I did. Oh.
Nancy, you really know how to.
How to treat the.
Yeah, how to.
Now this
walk
is
in.
not. We're not going to be like gentle with her now, are we? Do we have to be gentle now
No.
that the gifts are out?
The
You're
other
the
thing that I
best.
have for you is,
Yes.
and I heard you were in the military.
I was in the military.
I did hear that.
It's true.
And I don't know if you know this, but we give out challenge coins to our students
Oh, that's cool.
every year,
Just like in the military.
just like in the military.
So let's.
I don't know. Break that down for me because I don't know about.
Well, like,
a
so when you
challenge.
do good stuff,
See?
when you do good things in the military, a superior officer gives you a coin. And they're usually unique to that officer or to the unit of which he or she is in charge.
Spot on.
And so this is. All right, let's do a quick inventory of all the goodies that Nancy
Oh
just
my
brought to us. So first,
gosh.
she comes in
Taking
with a
pictures of it.
2011 bottle of Sicilian wine, Symposio, which I know is good, and dry red wine. And then and that came in a bag that has like genuine leather on it.
Oh,
telling you.
I'm
Look at
sure
this.
it's genuine,
I'm
right?
telling
Yes, I'm
you,
sure.
yes. Yes, it is.
I don't
Yes,
know
it
if
is.
something's genuine or not, so just let's go with it.
Love it. And I got a first responders bottle of wine, that is something my mother always taught me, that instead of getting good wine, get a wine that, like, there's so many different names and things. Get something that is personal to the person, and this is so.
And it's the
personal.
CLE Urban Winery,
I
which,
love
and
it.
actually Heinen's is the only one that carries that in this area
good
that
to
I'm
know.
familiar with. So I don't want to
Okay.
say that for sure, but I will tell you, you will love that.
And it's a
so
peach
light, fruity. It's
Chardonnay.
but it's not a heavy peach flavor. It's
Right.
just wonderful.
I love
But
it.
I saw the bottle and I'm like, oh, that's
is-
so Molly
that
with
is
all
so
her first
sweet.
responders
That is so
initiatives.
sweet.
So
But-
You're already
Yeah.
my favorite guest
But
out of
wait,
30.
But wait, there's more.
I know.
Because Nancy Santilli didn't stop with two
No,
really good bottles
no.
of wine. She also brought these neat military grade coins,
right.
with a Kenston emblem and year, which Molly
I've got a picture of
will
all this that
carry
we will
with
put
her
up on.
everywhere, and a windmill pin, which I want to talk about on
Sure.
this podcast, windmills, and a first responder
So did this get
ribbon.
handed out at the
Those
games?
did. So that's what we gave to all of the
great.
officers
So-
and firefighters that were there. That's such a great idea, and it is so wonderful.
Enjoyed every second of
know.
it.
Isn't
I
it
really
fun?
did. It's and we're still we collected all the thank you cards. So now we're delivering those to the first responders. And if I retired and someone said what would be your legacy, that would definitely.
Well, we
be
have
my
such a
legacy.
great working relationship with the Bainbridge and Auburn police and fire departments, and they're with our
They
students
don't wanna
all the
be
time.
thanked.
And they don't. They're
No.
wonderful. And then my brother also, he's the fire chief for the city of Menor. So little passion of mine. And my nephew
Oh.
works in Beechwood as a firefighter. So
Okay,
yeah,
for
that's-
sure.
And they,
for sure.
you know,
They're amazing.
It's not an easy job. That's
They're
for
running
sure.
towards
Yeah.
it. They're running
That's-
towards it.
that's
So
for
Nancy,
sure.
the first time that I met you, and you probably don't even remember, I was the manager at Burntwood Tavern, and Bob Lee was the superintendent of Kenston at the time. You were the assistant
Could have
superintendent
been
at that time.
Could have been principal or assistant superintendent. I think probably
okay.
assistant superintendent. If I was at lunch, it was probably the assistant
Yes,
superintendent.
yes. And you walked in with an entourage, and there was just whispers from everyone in Burntwood Tavern wondering who this dynamic lady was. I mean,
Really?
it was. I remember it as if it. I shit you not.
Was
I
there, like,
remember it as if it was
paparazzi
yesterday.
and
I don't know.
flowing
Maybe you
robes.
had the other principals with you, but it was an aunt. And Bob Lee's a super tall guy, so
Sure.
he was leading in. And then Nancy came, and she was just surrounded by these other people. And you sat down at maybe a 6 or 8 top table, and it was like, oh my gosh, who is that? Who is that? And you're always. I mean, her hair is sharp. I mean, you're just a sharp lady. I'm telling you.
I mean, you
I'm
made
telling
such
you.
an
I
impression.
love you, Molly. I'll
I'm
tell you,
telling
you are
you. Oh
really
my
good for
gosh.
my ego right now. 'cause
And we're like, that's
I don't know if the students would
superintendent.
say
Oh, it
the
was-
same thing.
Oh, it was,
You are, well,
you are. You
you're
have a
a
presence.
celebrity.
Yeah, there's
yeah.
a
Nancy,
presence.
Not like you.
Right? No.
Dynamic presence.
Not like you.
Listen. What did Nancy order that day?
I could
that
tell
I
you.
don't remember. I was stunned. I was starstruck. I
Right.
couldn't remember at that point.
I
but
could tell you
remember.
exactly what I ordered.
What did you order? The
I kn-
salad?
No, I'm
No?
sure I ordered the chicken paillard that they do with the
Oh.
arugula, and it's what I order every time.
Okay.
It's delicious.
Good to know.
So if you
Good
ever
to
if
know.
you haven't had it, we love going to Burntwood. So
Yeah, and then then
Nice.
I saw you at the last year's First Responders, and you had a baseball hat on. And I think I didn't even recognize
my
it
little
was you. I'm like,
incognito hat.
who's this
right?
lady walking on the field like she owns the place? Who's Nancy?
Which was difficult since we were at Solar.
It was so. You know what? It's you have to. They have to be on their home.
Right.
They have
Oh,
to be
it's
at
so
home.
nice when it is.
Yeah, because we did the Chagrin and Orange this year, and Orange needs to have their own time on their own field.
Well, it's important.
So the 57,000 kids listening at home
Yes.
know what you guys are
We're
talking
talking
about.
about the first responders.
Yeah,
So
and-
we
Right.
salute them at the football games.
Right.
According to what school district they take care of.
And you bring them out on the field.
We'll bring them out on the
ahead of
field,
the
and
football game.
everyone
The trustees attend,
Yeah.
and our board
everyone
members
stands
and,
up.
Right.
and
The
Yeah.
band
you
plays
guys had an
and,
amazing dinner this year for
right,
them.
right. So we did.
Yeah,
loved
Blazing
loved
Bills.
being- and Blazing Bills, and so Joyce
So
Pidio was there and
love
was
her.
so nice. Yeah,
Love her. Yeah. And then they said it was so good to be on our home turf. So
it's nice.
it
Good.
makes a difference.
That is a cool thing you guys put together. So here's my first question, right? I want to know, like, clearly you love your job, or else you wouldn't keep doing
I
it,
do.
right? But how do you, like, we were just saying during our banter session how you've got all these constituencies, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got the kids, you got their parents, you've got pain in the butt parents. You don't have to identify them, right? But we know who they are,
Well, Alex for one.
right? You've got
Alex is a parent in
I
our
know.
district, just
I
for the
am.
record.
Yeah.
That's
so
true.
It's one
Full
of those
disclosure.
helicopter parents.
Full disclosure. No, I'm not a
You have two
helicopter.
great sons,
but then
though.
you've got, yeah, thank you. They're good people. There's the state of Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's teachers. There's other employees, right? Who did we leave out? People that Nancy's got to think about all
Well,
the
the
time.
community.
The
if
community,
you're-
right?
yeah.
Right.
people who may not have kids in the district, but
Right.
you
Yeah.
need to
Right.
keep on their good side.
Yeah.
How many kids in the school district?
About 2,800.
We were way off. Wow. Way off. You know what it is? We left out everybody
grade
except
schools.
high school.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
No, but like that, to me, that would be like, I imagine that to be like spinning plates. Like when you go to the circus, there's that dude that's got to constantly keep them going. You slow
Right.
down. You know what I mean? Like that seems immensely difficult. Is it?
Well, you know what? I think, and I don't mean this to sound cliche, but I think what's really important is to make sure that you put the kids first.
Yeah. Good.
So if
Like a
you're
true
making the
north.
right decisions for students, then other things just fall into place. And so I always say the students first, and then people need to understand that I have a staff, that you have to worry about your staff too and take care of them, and then also the parents and the community. So it's all those partnerships working
Yeah.
together. But really, if you guide everything with the lens of
Right.
I'm going to do what's best for students and do the best that I can. No one, like any job, people don't come to do a poor job at it.
Yeah.
At least we hope not.
Yeah.
Right? So, they're coming, and for parents, and I think this is an important thing to remember, and I talk to new teachers about this all the time, is that the parents are bringing us their best. And
Right.
I heard a speaker say, it was actually Phil Schlechte, who's now deceased, but a guru in education, who said, they're not leaving their best at home. They don't leave their best at home in the closet and say, oh,
Right.
no, can't have those kids today.
Right.
So you really just have to recognize that, that's somebody's child.
Yeah.
Somebody's child. I mean, that's how I felt about my own children. That's how I feel about my grandchildren, is that, I want them to go and have somebody be making good decisions for them. So that's what you try.
Right.
Do people always agree? Not necessarily. It's like in anything. But if you follow that, it
Yeah.
tends to work.
You does it seem like there's constant noise from everyone other than the kids sometimes?
Always.
Right?
Always.
Like and
Like, how do you get anything done? It has to be a revolving door for you, because there's got to be, with all the different ages you have, there's got to be a problem in every nook and cranny going on at one time.
It is, and I joke sometimes with our, my administrative team, especially when we brought on new teammates, where I'm like, we say it. I used to say at the high school to my assistants, you got to just run with the big dogs right now. And you know what? To other people, it's like, I used to joke with them and say, it's like whack-a-mole. Like, just which one are you going to hit down right now and try and manage it? And but that's some of what makes the job great, is that it is different every day. You can't go in. You can go in with a list of things that you need to attend to, and you try and just get through them and see what comes up.
So
it
give
does
us
change.
a day. Give us a typical day.
Which
for
one would you like?
that's a great question.
As typical as you can get.
Oh, that's now that sounds like my husband, who says, "What do you do all day long?" Right? Or the students that say, "What do you do all day long?" But I don't think there is a typical day. So you start off early in the morning.
Let's do today.
You start off early in the morning, and
How early?
Usually by 7:30, no later than 8.
You're there. You're in your office.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's usually meetings that take place. So like tomorrow, I have Rotary first thing in the
Yes,
morning, and
that god-awful hour
so you
of-
start with Rotary, but usually there's some sort of meetings. You go through your day. I check emails. I do phone calls. All of that. You try and get out. At least I do. I try and get out into at least one of the buildings. You need to stay connected with the students. And so, you go into a couple classrooms today. I was at the intermediate school, and
they know who you are.
for the most part,
Yeah.
for the most part,
I'm assuming when you're getting into the younger ages, maybe not so much.
sure.
but-
I've had some students say, "Who are you?" but no, for the most part, they do. And so you try and do some of that, but then you're always putting out some fires, whether it's an issue that happened on the bus or whether it's a parent concern. You try and keep up with state issues, with the legislative issues that come out, and certainly dealing with the school board too. I mean, they're a big
that's
part
right.
of my
Left
days.
them out. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're all great people that, again, that are there for the right reasons.
Talk to me about the dynamic. There's not a Saturday morning song about how the government. There's all those little shows we used to watch.
Schoolhouse Rock.
There's not.
We just talked about that last
night.
There's not one
for the dynamics of the school board and a superintendent. Give us the dynamic of. I mean, they're really in charge. Am I wrong?
Right. So the treasurer and the superintendent, the sole job of I shouldn't say the sole job, but their main focus is to make sure that they hire a treasurer and superintendent. And so we both report to the school board. And they obviously, people vote them in to their positions. But they really, we've had a great school board, and they've been a long-standing school board. And even with some of our newer members, the members before them were on the board for a long time. So they're there for the right reasons. They're there because they care about their district, they care about their community, and it's a good partnership. And they have no. They call me. I'll get calls from the school board members saying, hey, I heard this, or I want you to look at this, or whatever. And so it's a good relationship. And our board has put on another board meeting each month. So they do a public work session now, and then they do their regular board meeting, which is nice. And they've done that just so that they can, really have more issues that we talk about openly in the public and things.
Things that are going. You guys have grown so much in the last. I grew up here in Chagrin, and I graduated in '89, and you guys weren't even a blip.
No, I know. Isn't that crazy?
You guys have just grown. Is it the houses?
Sure.
Growing.
It's people moving in, but to your point,
you guys are top notch now.
I'd
that's
like to think
a lot
so.
for me to say.
I know it is.
Yeah.
We better make sure that is recorded.
That's because of Nancy Santilli, to be clear.
No, and I
been
followed
there a long
in.
time.
Yeah, but I followed in some good footsteps too. I have been there a long time. I started off with my student teaching in Solon, and then I got a job right from there in Menor. And
I noticed that. My dad was the athletic
yeah.
director at Menor.
Oh, come
years
on.
ago.
Yeah.
He passed away in 74, but they built the stadium for him. So when you
Sure.
walk in, Ron
Sure.
Priest's name is
Sure.
right there, and
So
I saw that connection.
It's great. I mean, so I was in Menor and I taught for years. And just what you said, when I was looking to where, school districts that I wanted to apply, and as I was moving on in my, career as an administrator, and somebody said to me, well, you have to put your application in over at Kenston. And I said, oh, come on. I grew up out there. I go, come on, that's a tiny school over there, right?
Yeah.
And they said, nope, up and coming. You need to do that.
Sure
and,
are.
And so, ironic enough, it was Bill Coons. So Bob Lee was there and Bill Coons hired me as his assistant. And so I was the assistant principal there. And
So
then,
Bill Coons is the mayor
of
South Russell
Russell.
now.
Oh, yeah, I know Bill.
Sure
Okay.
do.
Yeah.
Sure do. Oh, that's
So
awesome.
and so then from there, I stayed there, and
So you went in as principal.
I went in as assistant
Principal.
and then I left. When Bill left, I left because Menor called me back and said, "I'd like you to consider coming back here." And I went back to Menor as principal, and then I did a couple years in Maple Heights. As high school principal, which was a great experience. And then one day I got a call from Bob Lee again saying, want to meet you for lunch. Let's have the high school here. So I was principal of the high school and then assistant superintendent. And then when Dr. Lee retired, I took over as superintendent. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Nancy, have you
A lot of years.
have you always imagined yourself in education?
That's such a funny question because I have siblings, so I have 2 brothers and a sister, and my sister will quip from time to time. She'll say, when we were growing up, she said, I remember. She said, you were always playing school from you'd set up the little chalkboard, which kids don't even remember the chalkboard, but you set up the chalkboard and you're always playing school. And she said, and I remember my other brother, he's an orthopedic surgeon, and she's going, and he always wanted to be a doctor. And she said, and Bob, the fire chief, always wanted to like help people and be a policeman or a fireman. And she said, did I ever once say that I want to be an insurance adjuster? So we always laugh. So
that's cute.
She goes, because I don't remember saying that.
Right,
But that's
right.
what. So my sister actually does. She works for Progressive Insurance, and she works for the CEO there. But we joke about that. But I always did.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that just, that's what I wanted to go to school for.
How long did
be
you
there.
teach before you went up into administration?
Don't mix me up on the years. It was about 15.
Okay.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time teaching, and I had my family too. So, 2 kids, and I wasn't really ready to go into administration. I kind of waited a little bit till they, I could manage and make sure that they had everything that they needed. And then when I first went to Kenston, I did all of the discipline. So a lot of the kids that are now parents remember me as the person that did all the discipline.
Wow,
What does
they
that
were
mean
lucky
you did all
that
the
you
discipline?
got there.
You were
At the time, the way we were set up is we had 2 assistant principals, and I was one of the assistants. The other principal focused mostly on special education and some of the other duties, and so I had discipline 9 through 12.
You
So
were the
I
bad
got
cop.
I got to know all of the
Oh,
students at that
boy.
time, but I loved it. I mean, I still see some of them today, and we have a good time and joke about some things. But yeah.
And can we talk about the rings on her, please? Your rings are spectacular.
Well, I do have a good husband.
Oh, I'd say so.
I do have a good
Jeez, I
husband.
can barely see her
Oh.
with the glare.
That's why we're a good
Gorgeous,
yin and yang,
right?
Molly. Like that would be the last thing.
Last
that-
thing he
Oh,
would
my
even
goodness.
notice.
Breathtaking.
I want to talk about.
Breathtaking.
I want to talk about like the windmills and the
And I
and the
wanna talk
solar
about
panels.
diamonds. Well, that's
So
why we
rings.
so
make
I
a
do
good
have to
team.
correct you though, and I apologize for that,
Then-
but I do have to correct you because it's a wind turbine.
I'm
Yeah.
glad that you said something because
Yeah.
I would have gone forever calling
Aren't you
it a windmill.
embarrassed?
No, don't be
Alex?
I
embarrassed.
have no shame.
I will
or
be
else I would
bringing
be.
that up at every
No, see, now I
podcast.
feel bad,
No,
but
because I
we do
missaid-
correct our students.
I said a word wrong, and I have to hear about it all the time. So I'll be bringing that one up all the
Yeah.
Do you know what word it was, Nancy?
No, I can't imagine.
It was leprosy. And do you know how
So
our
she can
friend
bring it up all
Molly,
the
time. Private school.
you know how Molly pronounced it? She's like, "What's leprosy?" So now it's windmill.
But she
Windmill.
did know Louis Vuitton, so it's
Yeah,
okay.
so that's
She's
I've got
exempt.
my
For the
priorities
kids,
straight.
because I know the difference, but for the kids listening at home, windmill versus wind turbine.
So the turbine is just power generated. The
Right.
windmill, I'm not really sure.
The windmill,
Yeah.
Holland.
presumably,
Those are in
It's
Holland.
Holland.
it's for grain.
Grain, water, I don't know.
It creates,
Yeah.
it helps in the
I
production of
can't
bread.
take a
and-
lot of, I don't take credit for the wind turbine. That was really,
Really?
Dr.
Brought that
Lee.
up, Dr.
Huge.
Lee.
Yeah, Dr. Lee was really big in environmental and green energy, still is. But what's wonderful is that's a strong focus then for us, for our students. And just really focusing on them being good stewards of the earth. Because I think that's important to be able
You
to
have
teach
horses.
them. We do. We
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
High school's got horses.
Well, they're not ours personally. There's a farmer that's there. The students
Oh.
sometimes think they're ours.
Oh, I thought it was yours.
So there's a like a little section of farm property that's there, and so the horses are there, and the band right next to them, and the dance team and everything else. And a couple times they've gotten out, and
my gosh.
we've sent the assistant principal down to we call him the horse whisperer and get the horses corralled.
Oh,
and-
that's funny.
But yeah, but that's what's so nice about Kenston is in that area is
Yeah.
we're on that farm property.
Well,
you know?
and to be clear, right? So it isn't just a wind turbine; it's a giant.
Giant.
Is it like one of the biggest ever
I think so.
on the planet?
I really
It's-
think so.
You
It
can see that
seems like
thing-
it to me.
Yeah, you can see that thing from Solon,
Yes.
right? Or
Yes,
really, farther,
really far.
for miles and miles. And there's this row of solar panels in front of the Board
Mm-hmm.
of Education and KIS, and there's got to be like 50 panels
Mm-hmm.
there. Between the wind turbine and the solar panels, how much of Kenston's electricity is covered?
That's
Any
tough
idea?
because we don't have all those figures documented out. We do
gotta be a
know
lot.
that it's certainly been saving us a lot
Yeah.
on those, and I know our treasurer has those numbers. But I'll tell you, it's a nice piece for our students to learn from. We're doing a lot of things with the alternative energies on campus.
Yeah.
So the solar panels that you mentioned, the wind turbine, the high school is a green ribbon school.
Yeah.
And we went to the Green Ribbon Awards in Washington a few years back. And then our cross-country team did a big community project and put in Kenston trails. And
Right.
we had just wonderful support with the trails. And so we have an outdoor education classroom on the trails, and there's these lovely benches with environmental sayings on them through the
Yeah.
trails. And so we're actually in process right now of doing different signs on campus, and so those are being constructed now that give out all the details in the history of
Yeah.
each, environmental, I guess, landmark, if you
Yeah.
will, so that our students can do a walking tour. And we've identified trees. I know Chagrin's big on the Tree City, but we've identified trees as for an arboretum. We have a butterfly garden outside that
Wow.
a student did outside of KIS. So a lot of those that we just hope the students can partake and really do a lot
Yeah.
of their studies for that. So,
That's
but
so
sure,
amazing.
it's something to see, and it's nice because no one can miss the campus now.
Right.
I think we're set. We thanks to our community, we did a bond project a while back, and we've been able to do some much needed improvements, and so that was why we were at Solon.
Right,
The one
that's
year
right,
for our
the-
stadium project
right.
and moving our transportation, and we're doing the big roofing project now at the middle school. So hopefully we'll have that done soon.
Let me ask you this, Nancy. What is working well with what's working well with the way that teachers and compensation systems and the structure of teacher employment and promotion? What works well, what doesn't?
Oh, that's a good question. Because people will say, teachers don't make enough.
Yeah,
I don't think that they do. I really
Yeah.
don't. For the work that they put in, and Molly can probably say this with her daughter, the extras that they go above and beyond to do. But are teachers in this area well compensated? They're compensated, and they have good community support, and I think that's critical, because being in a school where you might not have all of that community support makes it a little more difficult to do the job that they have to. But I think overall, it's fair. It is good, and I think with some of the new state evaluations, I know people, when that first came out, it was like, oh, this is bad, and we've been able to make some tweaks to that, where I think that there is kind of a unified evaluation system, and that which helps too.
Yeah.
And part of the component is for us to get in the classrooms and do walkthroughs and things so that you can see the teaching. So I think some of that's all kind of balancing out.
Okay.
And I think that I guess I'm just partial, but it's such a great profession to be in.
Yeah.
It really is. And so many of our teachers, and I think this is where you find value in a district, so many of our teachers send their own children there. And so I'll have, discussions with my administrative team, and, where I'll say, is this what you would want for your child? Is this good? Is this where you want to be, and the kind of education that you want to
Yeah.
provide? And so that's an important thing. I think that's a measure of, success for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
I read somewhere, Molly and I were talking about this earlier, that you flew in a Blue Angels
did.
jet. Is that
I
true?
did.
How awesome was that?
It was probably one of the greatest experiences I've ever had.
And how
Really?
did that come
Yeah.
upon you?
So we'll go back to the challenge coins. So, I was at the high school. I was a high school principal. And so often the military comes in. And, the military really, everybody says, well, you can join the military. That used to be the old kind of thing. Well, the military is looking for very talented, students that can really use that as a career option. And so, and rightly so, when you think about what they have to do, and with all the technology and the aircraft and all this kind of stuff.
It's a great opportunity.
And it's a great opportunity.
It's not
Pay
for
for my
bad
college.
kids
That's
anymore.
right. That's right.
The kids that were bad and you're going to go to the military.
Yeah,
Now
no.
Right.
So they do a lot of recruiting, and so I've had some great opportunities, and one of them, Dr. Lee and I went to boot camp, right? So we went to educators boot camp for a week. And that was a fabulous experience, I guess. But you saw exactly what it was like to, stand on the yellow footsteps. And so we were in Marine boot camp. And so when we came back, I was principal, and we did our ceremony. And we actually had the Marines come in and carry in the flag and do the whole color guard and, everything for the ceremony. And the coins came about because students used to give the principal tokens of whatever kind at graduation. And usually they were funny in nature. So, like they'd pass off a golf ball. So you're standing up there now with, 300 golf balls that you don't know what to do with on stage or whatever. So when I came to Kenston, I had mentioned I'd been at Maple Heights, and I was like, okay, I'm not letting anything happen where I would need to control this ceremony. So my thing was I would give the students some type of token. And at Maple Heights, it was a silver dollar that the superintendent before me had given them, so that it was their first dollar that they went out and earned or whatever. So it kept their hands busy. So if they're shaking your hand with one hand and you're handing them something before they can give you, I was like, I'm not going to be the victim up here, with whatever harassment kind of thing they wanted to do. So I came up with giving them a little gift. And usually it was a pen or a keychain, the key to your future or whatever. Well, we went to this Marine boot camp, and we came back with the challenge coin idea. So we've been doing that every class since, and each one is specific to that class that graduates. And so we have, a big picture in the board office, and all the class signs whatever their coin is. So that was the first step of this. And so we really kind of became embedded in a little bit with the military concept, and being the bombers, right?
Right.
So
Makes sense.
Made sense. And so one of the guidance counselors had nominated me as a person of influence, and I get this call. Before Labor Day, I get this call, and this lady says to me, Mrs. Santilli, you've been we want you to come down to Burke Lakefront, and you're going to be flying with the Blue Angels. And I said,
oh my gosh.
And I said, you mean I'm just going to go down there and then they'll pick who's going to fly? And she goes, ma'am, I wouldn't be calling you if you weren't flying. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to mess with her. And so I was selected. I was one of 3, and what a coincidence, right? The other person was a newspaper reporter from the Plain Dealer, so they always had somebody from the media, and I had gone to high school with him.
Oh my gosh.
So he was there, and then there was a professor from John Carroll, I think. No, I'm sorry. I believe it was Case. I think he was there. And he actually did, the background on how they build the planes and things like that. So here I am.
Wow.
My whole team comes down with me. It was great. And so we go through the whole day. And, I went up in that plane. And I remember my assistant and Bob Lee signing the form that says, I've now relinquished my rights to everything, life insurance, all of this.
Oh my
and I'm going up in this plane. And it was thrilling, but very nerve-wracking. And so being an educator, is all the preparation. So I was leaving nothing to chance. I like to plan it out. Knowledge is power. So I was calling everybody, and my nephew is in the Air Force, and I said to him, okay, people are telling me don't eat anything, I'm going to get sick. I'm not. And I said, you fly these planes every day. and obviously you're eating something and you're doing. He goes, Aunt Nancy, he said, here's what you have to do. He said, make sure in the morning you're eating, a piece of toast or whatever. And he said, and on your way there, he said, have a peanut butter sandwich. And I'm like, oh no, I can't even. I was a nervous wreck. And I drank water, just hydrated for, the 2 weeks prior. And I was going to do everything right. And, I got up there and I'm in this flight suit and I'm nervous because there's an ejection seat. And it's activated. And
Right.
if you get nervous and pull the wrong thing or whatever, I'm like, this is not a good scenario. So I remember tucking my hands into this flight suit, like I'm not going to move. And they have a camera on you the whole time. So I have this wonderful video tape of my flight.
Got a
And
picture of
so
it.
they're talking to you, the whole time, and you're hearing it. So my pilot was CJ, and I came out of there. It was probably the toughest workout I've ever been in my life.
Because of the G-forces.
Oh,
Yeah.
and
You're
I
all
said,
tense the whole time.
so tense.
Yeah.
And I did very well. I know people aren't going to believe this, but I pulled 6.8 Gs, which was tremendous.
That's crazy.
And I did kind of black out for about 10 seconds at one point. And you can see it where I just kind of go, and I popped back up and I said, oh, you were trying to give me my beauty rest, weren't you? And it was just a thrill.
That is
In
so cool.
seconds, we were above the clouds and you could hear nothing.
Yeah.
And just see.
Oh, I'd love that. That's awesome.
You would love it. You would love it. And by the way, out of anybody, I don't like to fly.
Neither
So,
does Molly.
no,
at
it's
all.
not my favorite thing at all. And so now the thing for me is my husband, who didn't like to travel with me too much on airplanes, right? Now I can't complain at all because it would be really bad if you're like,
Right.
oh, all of a sudden now
Yeah.
on a commercial airplane,
Right.
you're like, oh, I'm frightened.
Did it help with your fear, do you think?
I just think I don't know if it helped with my fear or you just, once you've been up with the Blue Angels, you can't say, ooh, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Oh, there's a little
Right.
turbulence.
Yeah, there's a little turbulence.
Oh, but that's just got to be surreal, right? I mean, there really isn't any feeling on Earth that even approximates that, right? That is a totally unique experience.
I remember when they flip the plane over and so you're flying upside down.
Oh,
and it
my-
feels like you're not even moving.
Yeah.
The plane is just going so fast and it feels like you're not moving.
Wow.
It was a thrill. And the only thing is that you can hear the other, all the air traffic. And so at one point we were over Lake Erie. So the plane went out. I was up there for an hour. The plane goes as far as the Perry plant all the way to Toledo. And then you're over Lake Erie and you do all these maneuvers. Well, we're over the lake and all of a sudden I hear this. It's an F-18 and it's coming quick. And so my pilot CJ is going, Nancy, we're going to take the plane down. I'm going to need you to pull some G's. And next thing you know, we are down what seemed like just 2 seconds, and we're above the water. And you can see all the water.
Oh, my
and I see a boat
gosh.
out there with, these fishermen, their eyes big. And I'm like, and then
Wow.
we, took it back up again. But there was another aircraft that was, coming. So it was exciting,
Yeah.
as you can tell.
Yeah. No,
Ryan's going on about it.
Well, and speaking of flying, let's talk about chickens.
You guys
Right.
really did your homework,
We got
didn't you?
a crack
You
research
know, I didn't
department.
put
Nelly.
any of this on my sheet for a reason, and you guys really did your homework.
We've got ex-CIA intel officers
Big
working
time.
on our research staff.
Unbelievable.
The 2016 Great Geauga County Fair chicken flying contest was apparently the scene of some superintendent versus superintendent.
That's right. Many years.
Yeah. What's happening there, Nancy?
So each year, and thank you to the Grindells, they host our students out there. So students from West Geauga and Kenston go out, and so the two
And that is
superintendents.
who? That is.
So now it's West Geauga.
But Grendel, that's.
Tim Grendel,
Tim Grindell.
He's
judge
the
and
judge, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Got you.
And so we go out there. The superintendent is Rich Marquardt from West Geauga. And so it's a friendly competition. Although he is from this area, big in agriculture. I'm from this area, but didn't raise chickens. And so he had his own bird this year. Eagle.
Well, walk us through the mechanics here. Logistically,
Okay.
what's happening in the chicken flying contest?
So you get a chicken,
Right.
and I always choose one from one of our Kenston students
Of course.
that raises these chickens, and some fly and some don't. But what you need to do, I don't know if any of them really fly, right?
Do
But we
chickens
force
fly?
them. No, they don't fly.
they hop
They kind
Yeah.
of,
and
yeah.
they flutter.
Right,
Right.
right.
So we help them along by, there is a mailbox up on a platform, and in this mailbox, you take the chicken, put it inside the mailbox, and you have a plunger, and you plunge the chicken, and whichever chicken flies the furthest, that's the person that wins. And we have a wonderful trophy that then the school, gets displayed in the school. And so the trophy is back at Kenston this year.
It is.
Oh, yes, I won that contest this year.
Even with his own.
Yeah, his bird just dropped to the ground. And I can say that because he makes sure when he wins, just right. Eagle did not soar.
There's both Alex and I's mouths are
Well,
wide open.
When
really
you come to
like-
the school, you'll see the trophy.
I really like how you chose the words, "We help the chicken with a plunger."
It's an assist.
Right. We plunge the chicken out of a mailbox.
I hear the phone ringing right now from
Right.
the
PETA.
animal.
Yes.
PETA is calling
Yes,
right now.
Yes. Oh, don't think that thought hasn't crossed our mind. We'll be calling Alex at the Gertzberg Law Firm.
We'll take care of you. We'll give you the friends and family rate,
Oh
Nancy.
my goodness.
So, how do you know how far your chicken flew?
Oh, 13?
Far enough
Far enough to
Yeah.
beat West G.
to get the
apparently.
trophy.
I should know. I was so excited that we
Yeah.
got the trophy back because he had it the year before.
Right.
And that's devastating. That's
Yeah.
devastating when you have to go back to the school without that
So
trophy.
where did
By the way, the trophy is a rubber chicken on, it's on a stand.
this takes place at someone's house, the Grindel, or
No, at the Great Geauga County Fair.
the
You
fair.
can see
This
it
was
on
a few
YouTube.
weeks ago.
oh boy, we will be sharing that link
Yeah.
on YouTube for sure.
So, are you friends with Bob Hunt?
Absolutely.
So Bob Hunt, for the last 2 years of the essay contest, has swept
Yes, he has.
the Gertzberg Law Firm Chagrin
know.
Valley Chamber essay
Painful.
contest.
Swept
Yeah.
isn't a word for last
Yeah.
year.
I mean,
I-
Chagrin did pretty well. Any
Yeah.
words for Bob Hunt, Nancy,
You
for
know,
this year?
I think you guys need a little side, because Alex and I do a side bet,
Yeah.
which he still hasn't.
and Bob and I do side
Done.
bets
Which
for
is-
football. But you're right. By the way, just for the record, he owes me.
Oh, well,
So he owes
Alex
me a
owes me,
lunch.
so maybe the four of us can go
Yeah.
and they can pay.
So
I bought that one dinner at Burntwood.
Oh, okay.
For the
okay.
record.
Okay.
yeah,
Maybe
so-
even 2.
But Bob still does owe me because just for the record,
Yeah.
putting it out
Okay.
there.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, we could do a little side bet. We're
Yeah.
both into that friendly competition.
I mean, there's 7 schools this year, so I don't want to play favorites, right? But I'm just saying, Nancy, maybe
know,
a little
it's time.
Kenston pride
It's time
this
to
year
step it
with
up.
the essay contest.
Now, I will say this with Kenston is one of the nice things is our teachers do a great job and get all of their students to write the essay, which I think is so important.
Yes. Yeah.
And by the way, kudos to you because it's remarkable just to be able to have the important topics that you do and then to get students all focused on that type of writing.
Yeah, it's fun.
And they're all great essays, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, really. So I know it's a huge undertaking, but I'll tell you, it is so valuable and
Yeah.
really speaks to the school's messages of just, what goes on beyond and the important issues in our world.
Well,
So
thank you for saying that. And I'll tell you this. It really amazes me how many business owners and professionals and judges and senators all contribute. And companies that sponsor it and that donate money to go to the students in the schools. I mean, I don't think either of us ever really imagined that it would have this wide of a reach and so many people in the community and businesses in the community.
And it helps
reading
with our,
essays.
like the chamber.
Yeah.
It helps
Right.
with our mission to, keep the students and the businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, these are our future
Right.
businesses.
And I'm going to put my
owners
offer back
and-
out there to you too, because I know Bob feels the same way. We absolutely want to help promote that. I know you'd like to see that grow, and I think we can do that through some of our superintendent organizations to really do
Yeah,
a proposal
thanks.
and put that out there because it's it's an awful lot of time that you dedicate, and the resources, like you said, Molly, and the community and everything, but so worthwhile. And
Yeah.
not too many people kind of put their money where their mouth is, and
Yeah.
kind of just go out there and say, this is going to make an impact.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So we'll do some friendly wagers, and I will
like
get on
Good.
the students there. But I know our students are participating. We love it. And
Yeah.
think it's very worthwhile.
Well, and Coach D, Mrs. D. Bernardo,
Yeah.
over there at Kenston, does an amazing job, and as do all the other teachers at
Yeah.
the other schools. All right, are we ready for the lightning round questions,
Sure.
Molly? You ready for the lightning round?
I didn't know you guys did a lightning
Yes.
round, and I
Yes.
should, because I've listened to these. But
Oh,
It's
you
about to
know.
get
Nice.
real,
Ooh,
Nancy.
okay.
You ready?
She's
Okay.
sitting back
Yeah.
in her
All right.
chair.
Yeah, brace myself here.
White knuckling. Here we go. Ready? Biggest success.
Oh, my children.
Mm.
My children.
It's not allowed.
No, it's not allowed. Oh,
It's not allowed.
It's not
You're
allowed.
supposed to say that in the.
I said other. I usually say
Oh,
other
other
than
than
your
my
kids.
children?
Yeah. I didn't want to be the bad guy.
yeah.
you know.
No, don't be the bad guy.
No,
but so
Molly's
then,
the bad guy,
So
so
then,
other
my
than your
other
kids.
success.
Yeah.
My others would have to be in my profession, and just truly being able to work with kids, and what you said every day is to know that you are making some sort of an impact. And I
Yeah.
think educators all across the world know that and need that.
You just did another 5-year contract.
I did.
Can you imagine yourself being in education other than as superintendent or a teacher?
What would?
Well, you can go like to the state of Ohio.
Yeah,
or,
to the
or
state of Ohio
or
or
the
something
U.S.
like that.
Department
And
of
I can't
Education.
because I just, well, first of all, and thank you to the board, because they did give me another 5-year contract,
Yeah,
which is
that says a
unusual
lot.
for a 5-year contract.
That's
but
amazing.
I'm
and
locking you up.
well, and that's okay. I'm happy to be there. But I think for me, no. For me, I am towards that end of my career in terms of just the time. And I don't know that I would never say never, but I don't know that I have aspirations to go beyond to the state level or anything. I really like where I'm at and being able to connect with the students.
So the second lightning round question, Nancy, is biggest failure. But you can define failure any way you want it.
Wow. See, I don't look at failures. I look at them as opportunities for growth.
That's a good definition.
I don't like having regrets to things, because I think, you do, again, it goes back to what I said about the teachers. You do the best that you can and what you know at the time. And so
So what was your biggest opportunity for growth?
my biggest opportunity for growth, can it be a personal one?
We'd prefer it.
Um,
It could be anything.
I think for me, I haven't totally overcome it. I don't take the time that I need to. Everything, so much gets consumed. Will you ask about the days? I can't speak for all superintendents, but on any given day, I'm putting in 10 to 15 hour days easily. And then I go home and I still am going on. And then weekend events. I'm like, Molly, there's so many, events and things to be at that sometimes I don't take the time that I need to for my own family or,
Yeah.
That's a great one.
and so my family, even though they're so supportive, like I recently, it's been a couple years, it seems like just recent, that I lost my mom. And I thought I'd have all this time with her. And so I don't have regrets. We, don't have things that weren't said or anything like that. But I always thought I'd have
Right.
like lots of time to spend. And the same thing with my own children. And I can remember probably one of the most hurtful things to me was my son said to me one time, well, he was always had people around and our family's always there and everything. But he said to me, you spend a lot of time with those other kids, Mom. And so I try and tell administrators that all the time, like hear that voice and make sure that you're not neglecting,
Yeah.
your own family because you're so busy giving,
Right.
to the school district and to others.
Do you ever like completely unplug? Like go like a full 24-hour period without like checking email?
I don't
or-
think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Although I work with a really good team that knows the importance of that, and so they'll try not to, interrupt me if I do take some time. But I look for little moments.
Yeah.
And so it's the little moments that I kind
Right.
of capture, and I go, wow, the sunrise is beautiful today.
Right.
And those are my little moments, or, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
it sounds so silly, but I don't care if it's just my husband and I went out a weekend ago. We didn't really have any plans. Our plans kind of fell through, and I'm like, well, let's go. And we went out. And so it's that time together that's kind of uninterrupted.
Yeah.
And so those are my little winning moments. But no, I don't usually unplug. And
I
that's
think
not
it's-
always good.
I
but
think it's a burden or a curse of loving what you do as well.
Yeah.
Somebody who wouldn't love as much would maybe be able to
like
unplug
that you say
easier.
love. My team would call it being a control freak.
Obsessed.
OCD. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she's micromanaging us again.
Nope.
No, but it
No,
is.
I'm loving you. I'm
Yeah,
loving
I'm
you.
loving
what you
That's
do.
right. I got to use that one.
Loving what you do.
Molly, would you like to ask your lightning round
since
question?
I can't remember what my other one was. An influential female in your life. Was your mother?
Oh, my mom. 100% my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the most unconditional
And
love.
when did she pass away?
About 2 years ago, yeah. And
We're in the same boat.
acute myeloid leukemia, and just never expected that. Just came on all of a sudden, and was a fighter, and she went every day to chemo treatments so living out in Newbury, and she went downtown every day, and my dad, would take her. Sometimes we would go with her and that, and I'll share this story. This is very personal. And so my mom said to me one day, she used to joke. She had just a fun sense of humor. And she said, oh, I'm going to the spa. She goes, it's great. I'm going to go to the spa every day. And I got really upset with her one time. And I said, Mom, stop saying that. I go, why are you saying that you're going to the spa? This is not a spa. And I said, nobody wants to be here. And she said, you're wrong. She said, I come here every day. And she said, all of these people that are here take care of me. And she said, they've all left their own problems, their own families. And she said, and they came here today to take care of me. And she said, can't think of a better spa to be in.
That's awesome.
And, and I thought about that a lot, and I thought, pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times when you think of that, those are the sacrifices that people are making for someone else. And in her own life, she did that knowing there wasn't really hope for her, but hoping that she would make a difference doing this, trial and everything that could make a difference for somebody down the road. But yeah, so
Pretty special
So went to
lady.
the spa. So one time during her chemo, I did take her out of there, and I did take her over to the spa.
Oh.
But
Well, I was actually
yeah.
with the J.O. He's the little boy from South Russell who has leukemia. And I was with his dad last night. He's a South Russell police officer. And he said kind of exactly what you're saying was, now this kid is 2 years
Yeah, I
old,
think
3 years
yeah,
old.
he's real little.
He has to take daily chemotherapy pill for the next 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
And
unbelievable.
his dad said, we're blessed with the kind of leukemia he got.
Yeah.
And I
Well-
looked at him, I said, what? And he said, yeah. He said, there's a lot of worse leukemia out there than that.
Well,
and I
and
thought, wow.
look at Bob Hunt and
Yeah.
Right.
his wife Shannon. I mean,
Yeah.
they're just an inspiration for that. So yeah, so that's
Your mama.
yeah.
Well,
yeah,
the
my
thing
mom.
about it, right, is I'm sure that this is that was the way just that she walked through life, right? Is with like intentional positive
Always giving.
attitude, right?
As you can tell from her daughter.
Well, yeah, but like
Thank you.
I think that like I've totally drank the Kool-Aid on positive attitude and how if you just will it, right, it's hard to get stress out if you're intentionally grateful. If you have intentional perspective, right? I can't remember if I said this on a different podcast, but when I was in Iraq, right, and we would do these convoys through some of the more rural desert. Rural is all desert. And we would see people on the side living in like Neanderthal-like conditions, like mud huts, no shoes, right? And they were just smiling, right? And I remember thinking, man, I am and there's missiles around them, and there's like,
and you're driving through,
yeah,
right?
And there's like, I mean, death and destruction, disease, whatever. And I remember thinking, I'm never gonna have a bad day again, right? Like, if these people can be happy, right? Then how do you go back and you have a bad day in Chagrin Falls, Ohio? You know,
I don't think you can.
no, you can't.
No.
You
I
can't.
think you can.
But I think your mom had that.
Yeah, she
that
did.
Internalized, right?
did.
I mean, to go through chemo and say, I'm going to the spa. you
And to
kind
think of the people,
Yeah.
to be considerate of the people taking care of her.
Right.
You know, not it's all about me and I have
Yeah.
cancer and this is horrible. And she
She did.
Yeah.
She
Amazing.
just felt bad. You know,
Amazing.
they were leaving their families. That was her important
Yeah.
thing. And she said, and they're driving here every day to get here to take care of me. So, yeah, remarkable. And I think you're right about attitude. I mean, you know, if we go in with a positive attitude, that's all we can hope for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
last
wonderful.
Amen.
last lightning round question. Clearly the most important.
Yes.
An embarrassing thing about yourself that nobody knows.
Too bad she didn't eat cheese before that
I know
flight.
that would have been such a great story.
No way.
Next
no
time.
way.
Next Blue
That
Angel flight.
nobody knows about. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I don't.
I bet there's a juicy one coming,
I
Molly.
know.
I bet
Now
there
I
is.
have to think
She's
about
trying
it.
to sort them all through.
Which
An
one?
embarrassing moment.
Yeah. Kids, get your pencils out.
No, I don't.
Come on, you're in front of people
57,000.
all the
Oh, go ahead.
time.
I
Isn't
know.
there a-
They could probably tell you some, but I guess I block them out. I don't know. Because you know what? I don't take myself that serious, I guess. I mean,
love that.
I just danced with the dance team on Friday night, right? So at homecoming, I've been dancing with the dance team for how
I
many
missed
years?
that.
Yeah.
And they put me in the sequin top every year.
Oh,
okay?
my
I look
gosh.
like a giant disco ball out there, right? I mean, so at that point,
So here,
Oh,
we'll
I
throw you a
missed that.
lifeline.
I mean, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, but everybody knows that.
But everybody knows it.
Everybody-
I
I
know.
didn't know that.
Well, this has been awesome.
This has been so good.
Great
We said at the
podcast.
beginning that
Very
you're a
nice.
get.
Yeah, you're a catch.
This was a get
Yeah.
for us. This was wonderful.
Well,
Yeah.
I do appreciate
Wow.
the time
We
today.
love
and
having you on.
Nice conversation.
Anytime.
Yeah. Nancy, is there anything that you're working on currently or that you'd like our 57,000 listeners to know about?
Wow.
Anything coming up?
Working all the time. We just want to continue to make great improvements and we're working on our report card and working on everything every day. And we just want to keep moving forward. And really, we're working on a lot of, like I said, the student engagement piece.
Yeah.
So critical. So critical. But no.
Yeah, and parents in general, I will tell you this too, we get really good updates from the schools, right? Like, so there's a superintendent
Oh,
email
good.
that
I'm
comes
glad.
out, and so if anybody wants to know what's going on at Kenston, they just go to your website, it's all there.
Well, here's the other thing that
Yeah.
I do want to tell you is that, and people can come and see me anytime. We're very approachable. Like, just call, pick up the phone,
Yeah.
say you need to see me. They'll make an appointment, and you
Open
can
door
be there.
policy at
And
Kenston.
yeah, it is an open door
Okay.
policy, and I don't think people really realize that. And so, with our administrators and even our board members, I mean, they welcome just having people come face to face and good communication. So
Yeah.
Love that.
we work on that all the time.
Well, we need to get on the books, Bob
Oh.
and Nancy and the two
Yeah.
of us
Yeah.
Love
at
it.
lunch
Yeah,
to get
for
our
sure.
bets in order and for this upcoming.
And then I would
Essay
tell you to come to
contest.
the chicken flying contest next
Oh,
year.
I'm going to be googling
Dawn and
that
Dawn.
as soon as
Yeah.
we leave here. I'm going to check that out.
Plus,
on
you get to eat
YouTube.
fair food.
Yeah, I
So-
did go to the fair this past year, and I'm just not a fair person.
Really?
I'm not
What
a
are you,
fair
communist?
person.
What are you talking
And it's
about?
funny because
It's the
I grew
greatest thing in
up
the
at the
world.
fair. Our neighbors were the funnel cake.
Oh,
and every
see?
summer we went
Yeah.
with them and stayed in the. My parents would be drinking with them in the thing, and we would be in a camper and roaming the fairgrounds, and that was how we spent our entire summer. I don't know. It was the smells and the food smell and the animal smell. I was like, okay, I gotta get out of here.
So then you can go to the spa with me, Molly.
There you go.
Please.
I'll tell you this. Between the Geauga County Fair and Blossom Time, I feel
I can
like
take Blossom.
I feel like we live in like 1776, right? Like this is down home Americana.
It is.
right
It
here.
is.
This
It
is
really
ground
is.
zero for like what it means to be an American.
That it is.
Over here. I mean, it is. I think that Geauga County Fair is like the greatest thing in the world. There's. I bet you there's like a million
There
people
was
that go through
trapeze
there.
going on when we
Yeah.
went,
It's
and the
huge.
little motorcycle and the ball.
Yeah, you got to be okay with
Crazy.
manure and smells,
yes.
right? Lots of animals.
But you're in Geauga County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
good with it.
Yeah. I'm okay with it.
Molly, you've got a
Yes.
lot of stuff coming up.
Yeah.
I don't know,
By the time this airs,
Yeah.
it'll be over.
you'll be like an Oscar nominee, and
I did see all your plans for the pumpkin.
Yeah, the pumpkin
Festivities.
roll. Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it's.
By the way,
it's crazy.
genius to you that you have the businesses doing all of their specialty items for pumpkin. Like,
It's
who doesn't like the
Coming
pumpkin
out
things?
tomorrow, we will start releasing all and there's a pumpkin massage.
Is there really? I know
Yes.
I know there's a pumpkin martini, and I've
There's a
already
pumpkin
purchased
martini.
those pumpkin candles.
Aren't they?
They're
delicious?
fabulous.
Do you have that on your desk at your office?
Oh, not in my office, but I purchased them for everybody.
They
I
are
love them.
amazing.
what's a pumpkin massage all about?
I don't know.
But we're gonna find out.
We are
Do
gonna
they
find
massage you with
out.
small pumpkins?
Spa or no? I wonder if it's like
Or
I'm
large
sure it's
ones.
the oil.
What is that?
I don't know.
I'm sure it's a
Pumpkin oil?
probably. I would think.
Yeah, okay, I'm sure it's
or a
Yeah,
fantastic.
that's what the
mash
kids
from
get.
the-
It's what the kids get every time they do the roll. A little.
That's right.
Pumpkin massage.
massage. Yeah.
Well,
so very exciting.
congratulations
Very
to
exciting. Thank
you.
you. Thank you. 2 of them. So it's quite the. And I am taking time off, and I am just going to enjoy every second of being. Usually I'm working it or volunteering for it, so I am just going to enjoy every second of being a filmmaker.
Nice.
Are you releasing the documentary on like Netflix or anything like that?
I'm hoping HBO or Netflix will purchase it.
Yeah.
But we
know-
are just
yeah.
dealing with
You know what
this
you need?
film festival and then moving on.
You know what you need, Molly?
An agent,
A publicist.
an assistant.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah,
do
for
need
sure.
an agent. Yeah.
I'll-
So anybody would like to call in.
Molly, stop. I got you. I got you.
You're going to be my agent?
No, I know people.
Oh, you know people.
I know
Excellent.
people.
Excellent.
Excellent. On October 18th.
Yes.
You guys know what's happening October 18th?
I do. You
Yeah.
and the lantern.
The Lantern. That's right. Yeah. We're going to be doing a talk over there
My
on
daddy's home.
elder care, right? What to do in a crisis.
Oh, nice.
It's what to do before a
Right.
crisis arises, and how to take care of your elderly folks, and how to take care of all the legal stuff that needs to happen before you actually need it.
And I
Right?
have to say, it,
Yeah.
it is such a brilliant. I've just gone through that, and
Proactive.
It is
Be proactive.
so needed, and
Yeah.
we will all be there, whether it's going to be us
Right.
or our kids
That's right.
handling it or
Yeah.
our parents or. This is a disease that is growing, and
Yeah.
so yes, to know what to do
Right.
ahead of time, that's huge.
That's
huge.
October 18th at 5:30
At the Lantern,
Right.
right?
at the Lantern. That's right. And we're gonna put out some really good information,
I
and
love
you'll get
your
a tour.
picture.
Isn't that cool? It's a
I
little
love
heart
the little
in your
heart
hands.
in your hands. I love that.
Yeah,
Nice.
you should go to that, Nancy.
And
You'll
get
dig
a
it.
tour of the Lantern.
Get a tour of
which
the
is
Lantern while you're there. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
It is phenomenal.
And if
That's a
you
great
see
place.
Dr. Joe, tell him Molly loves him.
Yeah.
Oh.
Dr. Joe. That's your
Dr.
dad.
Joe. Mhm.
The
Yeah.
dentist. And then start being on the lookout for opportunities to be a judge in our essay contest and a
Yes, and
sponsor in our essay
sponsorships,
contest, because it just
yes.
got really big.
Just got real.
So we're going to need lots of judges to read essays and to donate money to go to the students and to the schools.
And kudos again to you for that, because
Thank you,
great,
Nancy.
great initiative.
Thank you.
That's the somebody thinking and action
Yeah,
is what that is.
it's fun.
Mr. Gertzberg.
It's good stuff. Well, Molly, you're half of it. Let's
I
not
came
be
after.
shy.
I'm
All
the
right.
chicken.
But I'm
All
not
right.
going to push it through a mailbox.
With a plunger.
Plunger.
Let's end on that note.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll see you next time.
Yes.
Hi, Max Julian. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you, Alex Kurtzberg?
Fantastic. Are you having a good day?
Sure am.
You are?
Sure am.
I've been really busy lately.
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Which is
Almost-
good.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I like about you, Max, is you are always so enthusiastic.
I try to be.
Yeah.
I think everybody's enthusiastic about certain subject matter
Yeah.
and in their own ways.
Well, but your enthusiasm, I infer from like just a genuine happiness at practicing law.
Well,
Right.
I feel very fortunate to get to come to work every day at a place that pushes me to my intellectual limit every day, and
Right.
I have colleagues that have high expectations of me, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I'd say it's fair to say that I'm happy to be here.
What do you think your favorite things to do within the practice of law are?
I really, really like talking to clients.
Yeah.
and getting to know clients and trying to understand what sort of issues are challenging them, and because that's not really something that you learn how to do in law school.
Right.
In law school, you're just sort of confined into these doctrinal spaces, and
Right.
they don't teach you how to gather facts or interview people.
Yeah.
So I've really enjoyed that experience so far.
Yeah. You have built a pretty good rapport up with clients too. I've noticed that about you. Max, what are we here to talk about today?
Contracts.
Contracts. And what specifically about contracts are we going to talk about today?
So, well, there are several subjects. I don't know if we'll have time to cover them all, but there are fundamental clauses and provisions that should be in every contract.
Okay.
And so I guess any contract is going to have an integration clause, it should have an indemnity clause, and it should have a provision for term and termination.
Okay, good. Well, so here, I think in a typical contract, you would see term first, then termination, then indemnification, and then the integration clause would be last
Sure.
in a typical contract. So let's take those in that order. Why is term important? What is it?
So term is the duration of the contract.
Right.
When the parties enter into the contract, they have an expectation about how long their relationship is going to last, whether it's going to endure, whether it's going to reoccur over a period of time, and they need to understand before they sign, and they need to have reasonable expectations what that timeline looks like.
Yeah, and it's interesting because small businesses especially like to work on handshakes, right?
Sure.
And then at some point, it seems like they graduate from the handshake agreement to some sort of written document, but things like when does this contract end
Right.
are often overlooked. They'll say deliver this good or this service by such and such time, right? But then they often forget to talk about how long a warranty lasts or
Right.
any follow-on work that has to happen. So that's what the term clause is for, right?
Yeah. And hand in hand with the term clause is often the termination provision.
Right.
And that's really important to have in any contract in case one party feels like it's not receiving the benefit of its bargain and it feels like it needs to exit the relationship.
Right.
So there has to be a mechanism in there that lets a party terminate the contract.
Yeah. And that provision is usually, I think, in the form of a how and under what circumstances the contract is terminated.
Right.
Right. So there's often somewhere else in the contract a notice provision, like how notices are given.
Yeah.
Right. So you would have in the termination clause something that says, hopefully, that the contract may be terminated if such and such event happens. But if you're the party whose contract is being terminated against your will,
Right.
you would want the opportunity to
Cure.
it.
Right.
Exactly. And after termination, you would often find the indemnification provision. So talk about that. What is that?
Sure. So an indemnification provision obliges one party or the other to, I guess, protect the other party in litigation that arises as a result of the subject matter of the contract. So, for example, if you're a baker, and this is, I guess, a pretty common example, you're a baker and you're baking cakes and you order flour from the flour dealer and you use that flour to bake your cakes, and you later discover that a bunch of people got sick because the flour was tainted. So now all those customers who ate your cakes and got sick sue you. You can turn around and say, hey, flour dealer, you sold me flour that was tainted. We have this indemnity provision in our contract that says you're obliged to indemnify me as a result of a loss sustained from you
Right.
breaching the contract, which was you selling me tainted flour.
It's almost like insurance,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the indemnification provision, just like we talked about with termination, can be expressed in terms of how
Yeah.
does indemnification occur, right? Notice is usually given, and then the other party has to step in to defend. And then under what circumstances, right? So what kinds of harms
Right.
would indemnification be triggered in, right?
Sure. I guess it can vary, and it's oftentimes the subject of negotiation between parties to a contract.
Right.
Typically, one party who doesn't want to indemnify the other party will try to limit that clause as much as possible.
Where I tend to see indemnification the most is in buying and selling a business, at least in terms of an indemnification clause being heavily negotiated.
Sure.
Right. In those circumstances, the seller of a business wants to receive his money and walk away, right, and not look back. And the buyer of the business, or for example, a big piece of equipment or a piece of real estate, often wants to be indemnified by the seller for things that they didn't realize were happening.
Right.
Taxes, for example.
Something that wasn't disclosed to the buyer.
Exactly. And so what they would often negotiate is a provision that might say how long the indemnification obligation lasts. It's not forever, right? The buyer of a business or of a big piece of equipment or real estate or whatever, the buyer wants indemnification for as long as possible. The seller eventually wants to move on with their life.
Yeah.
And then we've got the integration clause. What's the integration clause?
So an integration clause is super important because the integration clause says that this contract is the full and final expression of the parties' intentions as to this agreement with respect to its subject matter. And what that means is that any other documents or emails or communications or representations made between the parties don't apply to this contract, because with an integration clause, the parties have expressed their agreement that everything we intend relating to this deal is in this contract.
Right. So another way to explain that in layman's terms might be that it's the agreement between the parties to the contract that the document that they've just signed contains within it the entire agreement,
Right.
and that there isn't anything extraneous to it, like a side deal or a handshake or a verbal agreement or anything else that should be enforced.
Right. They have no other agreement.
Right. And that becomes really important when you want to avoid he said, she said.
Yeah.
Right. So you sign, for example, like a simple one-page purchase agreement, and then the buyer of the widget says, yeah, but this seller promised a warranty.
Right.
And promised that this thing was going to work for the next 5 years. And the seller says, no, I didn't promise that. In fact, if I had promised it, it would be in this contract, which has an integration clause in it that says everything that we've talked about is within the four corners of this document. Right.
Exactly.
So yeah, that is a super important provision in any contract. And it's one that I think you see a lot, and take for granted.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Another way to think about it would be to say that an integration clause prohibits a party from changing the terms of the contract after the parties have signed it.
When I think about clients who've drafted their own contracts and then come to us after the fact because there's a problem, it's often because that integration clause wasn't in it.
Right.
Right. It's often because one of the parties to the dispute says, no, there's more to this contract than what's just written into the document.
Right. Right.
Max, this has been a great lesson in contracts. I'm sure our 57 million listeners appreciate it. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Max.
Thank you.